Hey everybody, welcome to Habitat Now. I'm your host, Aaron Schey. It is exciting to have you all join me as we are planning for the upcoming MasterWorks auction, planned for January 9th during our Glass Coast weekend. This is an incredible collection of work from multiple collections, including one important collection of a client that has relocated. So we're able to bring the work in, inspect everything, photograph everything, put it all online for you to, see, place, and bid. So without further ado, I'm going to take over your screen and start sharing mine. I'm joined today by Habitat's founder, Ferdinand Hampson, and maybe Corey Hampson will be joining us as well. So as you can see online on our Masterworks site, you can see these the pieces. If you click on View Lots, register to bid on the habitatauctions.com. It's also on our current website. If you click on top, it says Masterworks up there. You can click that button and find the auction as well. So quick little 101 there on what's going on. So let me get to our PowerPoint presentation. So we do these Zooms every Saturday, or every Saturday at 1 o'clock. So make sure you join if you can't find the link there on our habitat.com under the Zoom button. It's right on top. Can't miss it. Sign up and join us every Saturday. So our 10th annual Glass Coast weekend is coming up soon, January 9th through 12th. It's $2.99 per couple. There's so much going on for this event. I'll send you the program if you haven't seen it as of yet. We're marketing it locally as the Glass Art Fair, which is 4 days only for the people who are local, who don't participate in all the VIP events. And we're going to be having a toast with Barbara Bash and bringing people in from the community who support Barbara there at the Ringling College. So it's an exciting time. Highly recommend you come with us. We sold out last year. It's getting close this year, so make sure you have a chance to join us for the Glass Coast weekend. Look at all the artists that are coming. We have Martin Blank, I think Marlena Rose, not just both of Cassi, Lucy Lyon, Amber Cohen, Peter Bremers, Dan Alexander, Stephanie Trenchard, Michael Taylor. So many artists are coming down. So make sure you have a chance to come visit with us down at Glass Coast Weekend. So now we're here talking about the Masterworks auction happening, I said, on January 9th. You can bid today on our Masterworks site. I highly recommend it, or call me, email me. We'll set up phone bidding or silent bids, which we'll talk about more soon. So I talked about where the auction button is. So let's get into it. And Ferdinand, you're here today. Will you say hi to everybody too? Or you disappeared. Maybe he'll come back in a second. All right, let's continue on. So there are 44 works in our 44th Masterworks auction. Is that a coincidence? It is, actually. I was not planning for that, but it happened out perfectly for 44 pieces to round out this incredible collection. So we'll talk a bit about every work. Um, and if you have a work by the artist, feel free to share your story about that artist as well. So Peter Hoare created a collection of works in 2019 that are maquettes of larger works, and there's two of them available in this auction. And Peter Hoare's work is just incredible cast glass. He is a master of the materials and working with it for probably 40 years, if not more. And every work is a treasure. Every work is made by him personally. And the tones and the coloring is absolutely beautiful. This starts off our auction with this highly desirable blue cobalt eye. And there's 360s of many of the pieces, not all of them, on the Masterworks site. So if you want to see a lot of these works on the round, go to Masterworks or Habatat.com, click on the Masterworks button, and you'll see 360s, including this one. So a good way to start the auction. I love this piece, and I love the work by Peter Hoare. Next is Odahashi, a Japanese artist. We've done really well with Odahashi's work over my career. We've worked on commissions for people who had specific amount of spaces, but this work in itself is just a wonderful example. It's 13 and a half inches tall, a seated figure. It's signed by the artist. And it's just very, very peaceful. And if you have a space that would fit this piece, it's a great opportunity to acquire a work by the artist if you don't have one as of yet. So this is the work I have the 360 of. This is Toland Sand. It's called Beyond Gravity. We still represent Toland today. He makes incredible things. He's making work at the pinnacle of his career, but it's always fun to see what he's making and working on every day. So with jumping back a couple of decades, maybe 2022, you can see this work. So I'll show you the 360 right now of the piece. I'm going to try to make sure the sound doesn't work too when I click play because it might have some music. So you can kind of see all of our works that have the rotation will give you a real idea of the depth and tone. And the 360s also help you, see the work in different light, different coloring. And this work doesn't include the base, which I I don't believe it's laminated too, but it might be. I have to find out when I see it. I think that glass panel on the bottom is stuck to the piece and it slides right into the base below. I'll check and see if Ferdinand's back too, if you're around, Ferd, but you can see that work on the MasterWorks site. So let me continue on with the PowerPoint. Oh, oh, all right. Uh, Incredibly tall, 33-inch work by our friend David Patchen. Stunning sculpture. There's multiple sides of this piece in at the MasterWorks site you can check out. He's an amazing artist, master of color, and I really, really, really love this work. I've seen him do other objects, different forms. This is kind of an earlier piece from 2005. It gives you an idea of his talent. And if you don't have one by David, this would be a great piece to acquire. I love these teapots by Marquis. This one was made in 1979, I believe. 77. And these sell really well at auction. Everybody wants to get one of these in their collection. Museums are acquiring these works as well. And I feel like this is a perfect example to have on the secondary market because these pop up every now and then. And he's a great part of the glass studio history. So it's always fun to have a work by artists working today at auction. This is a masterpiece by our friend Peter Bremers, and it's 18 inches tall, 18 inches wide, and it looks kind of like a fin at 3.5 inches deep. And when I first saw this work at SOFA, when he started making these sculptures that have these veils in the piece, you can see the depth and the original pieces of glass in between from the casting. I was blown away, and it's nice to see one of these works at auction. Maybe someone will jump and acquire this work because it is a rare thing to see. Oh, Ferd's back. Thank you, Ferdy. Can you hear me? Can you
Yes,
say
sir.
something?
Yeah.
Say hi to everybody. I don't know where you went for a minute there.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, no, I pushed a few buttons and nothing worked.
Gotcha. Well, I can hear you and see you now, so that's great. All right.
Okay.
So we'll continue on. A fun work by our longtime Habitat family member, Shelley Muzzolowski Allen. Years ago at SoFa Chicago, she created a few of these animal-like cups, and they've sold pretty well. We wanted to put a really substantial one in this auction. I believe it's 9.5 inches tall, but the horns across make it 14 inches wide. And there's multiple pictures of this piece on the Masterworks site, and you can kind of get an idea of what it looks like. But definitely check out this work in the 360 if there's one or multiple pictures to really see the talent that Shelley has in this work, and it's priced really well. And early Mark Pizer, this is, I believe, a step series or something. For would you say
Staircase. Yeah.
staircase series? Yeah. And this is a rare piece, nice size piece at 5.5 by 4.5. You could really get a grip of the scale and the talent that Mark Pizer had back in the early 90s and before. And we get a lot of people who ask about these earlier series pieces if they're available. Now we have on auction.
Yeah. The optics are great in these.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a rare thing to see at auction, a theater work by Mary Shafter. Usually she works at different scales at this cast glass form. This one is about 17 inches tall. I've seen them, they all go up. I think we had one in the gallery once upon a time that was 60 inches tall, right, Ferd?
Yeah, at least 60. Hmm.
Yeah, so having an opportunity to see this work at auction is really great. And you can see that the light illuminates through this piece. So if you acquire this work, having a light blasting on the wall behind it would be key. And Mary's a really important part of studio glass history, and this is a perfect piece for auction. A very substantial one, too.
So in this auction, I was counting and I have about 20 pieces by artists that are represented here. And I think, I missed some of what was earlier said, but one of these collections really shows how a collector will get involved in particular artists' works and really get significant examples. And some of the auction pieces that we have in this one have show that with multiple examples of each artist's work. Also, there's a real Asian influence in the work, which also translates to minimalism in some instances with Izumi and Ikuta. So exciting auction.
I agree, Ferd. Very fun things to see. Look at this. Look at this. This is a Danny Perkins work. We've been selling these works at auctions for a few years now, and these works are they think they're broken and glued back together and laminated together to give different tones and coloring. At 50 inches tall, this is one of the largest I've seen come to auction that looks kind of like stylized like this. I've seen other ones that are a little more hokey in form, but this is probably one of the nicest by the artist, and there's always people looking for Danny's work. Definitely check out the 360 on this piece on the MasterWorks site. It's fun to have our friend Davide included in the auction. We have two works from, I believe, two different collections that are featured. And this work is a koke work, a single
Mhm.
small sculpture. Some people can't handle the large, giant pieces Davide's known for, but same amount of talent carving and blown work in this sculpture, and it's quite nice in tone and color. Our friends Jenny Pullman and Sabrina Knowles. We always get people ask about the heads on the wall and the spear. That spear is 99 inches tall. Just to give you an idea of scale. And the head is 28 inches tall. And the hair flows down around the head, probably a little more than in the photo. I tried my best when I was putting this photo together for auction. But oh, an incredible work by the artists that are inspired by their world travels and are still working today. This is wall mounted, just so you know. Longtime friend of Habatat, our friend Paul Stankard, probably the best, if not one of the best paperweight makers in the world. He's still working today. We received a collection from Annie and Michael Belkin, and it was a substantial amount of works, and we've been slowly trickling them out. But every work in the collection was handpicked by Paul to recommend to Michael, saying you should acquire this. And he actually had a stipend. Michael provided Paul a stipend to make sure he got his best piece every year. So it is an honor to offer the collection. And look at this work. It has such detail, magic, fantasy. He has the spirit, root spirit people and earth spirit people. And people look at these and they look so realistic, but they're all made by Paul.
May I correct you on one thing?
Sure.
It's not that he's possibly the best. He is the best in the history of weight making. And that's verified by a lot of experts in the field. He's extraordinary.
I stand corrected and I agree. Thank you, Ferd. This is the other edition by our friend Peter Hora in this auction. Definitely check out the video. It is an homage of a larger piece that the artist has made over his entire career, probably somewhere at a museum. And some people like color, some people don't. Some people want to have some grayscale sculptures, but a simple beauty like this in great form and tone and color. A Dan Clayman work. It's been a while since we had a Dan Clayman auction. This is a wall-mounted lute. It is 50 inches tall, hangs on a single bracket, and it is just a refined and detailed work by the artist. And it has an essence of an instrument, and it's such a clean appearance that we're honored to have it at auction. I'm sure this will find a great home. The artist is a master of casting. Uh, his process is over the top to make everything perfect. He does molds, reverse molds, reverse molds, reverse molds to get everything exactly perfect. And he's since stopped really making work. He's been working on projects which he enjoys. And so the work is kind of getting more and more rare to find at the secondary market. In this auction, we have three vessel sculptures by Keith Clayton, and they all came from the same collection, and they all kind of live together on display. You'll see the other two coming up. This one is 34 inches tall to give you an idea of scale. It's almost 3 feet tall. And definitely check out the video where you can see the sides of the piece because it has it's two sides that connect together with copper. Maybe I can show another photo while I'm waiting
Mhm.
here. And I'll pull up the other photo to give you an idea of I get to go here. Boop, there it goes. So you can kind of see the side of it there as it slowly turns around. That two sides of this pate verre vessel come together with copper to create this large hollowed form. And it's impressive. It grasps your eye, and it's just beautiful. I just give you a glimpse of the next one of the auction. But there's three different scales. This one is at 36 inches tall, 34 inches tall. You'll see more in the upcoming auction. This is a Bertel Valine panel. This is not the greatest photo for some reason. It came out a little blurry, so I'll make sure to fix that. But this is just a wonderful work by
Yeah.
Bertil. He's from Sweden. You probably know who he is. He's really, really, really famous out there. And this panel is colorful. All his work is about achievement, lives, and homes. And these maps on the wall kind of have these maps and masks have this feeling of different interaction in life. And the story goes, Bertil was in the military in his youth, and he was stationed somewhere near a barn, and they were sitting there all day waiting for who knows what. And he was pushing objects into the snow, and it was being like casting into snow, and it gave him the motivation to lead to what he creates as an artist. So when he creates with his process, the sandcasting process is the same, where he has glass and he pushes objects that he has already made into the glass while it's hot. And you'll see tons of videos on YouTube, but some of his work is challenging to like. Some of his work is beautiful. It's all about life, and this is one of the most beautiful works I've seen in the freestanding map series. I highly recommend you check it out. Our longtime friend Zora Palova, who is pushing the medium still today, and this work is a substantial work by the artist, 20 inches, 20 and a quarter inches wide by 18 inches tall. These things are made out of clay, and she makes reverse molds, and they reflect, earth and tones and nature. She's heavily inspired, and every work she makes has a wow factor. We have two in the gallery on display right now, and people that have our breath is just taken away when you see her work and her sculpture. And she's been working for what I would say maybe 30, 40 years now, right, Ferd?
Oh yeah,
Easily,
easy.
easily. So definitely someone to keep your eye on. Museum quality work by far. Our friend Tom Patty. These were very interesting works. There's always a demand for Patty's blown works, and this work has some really creative detail on it. These lines in the glass that you can't really see in the photos, and these works were sold for a lot of money back in the day. I think he sold them by the ounces. But he weighed them, didn't he, Ferd? And he sold them by the ounce.
Well, yeah, I mean they can't went up into like 50,000, $55,000 for the same size work as this. This is an earlier work and in some ways more significant. Tom Buechner, who is the curator, not the curator, the director of the Corning Museum, said that his technique was the first original technique done in contemporary glass. All the techniques that were done, casting, blowing, had all been done prior to, but this was totally unique, blowing into plate glass.
Yeah, and there's always people who look out for the work. You can't have a glass collection without at least one Tom Patty. There's a collector here locally that has, I think, 5 or 6 of them from different series, and they're really amazing to see in person. Here we go with the Japanese theme I was talking about. This is Toshio Izumi from Japan. He has since retired, and this is a wall-mounted piece, but it could be laid flat like this for display. Layers of green, I think it's laminated glass that have been polished and carved down, and there's always a demand for this work. This work has a tiny, almost invisible scratch on the side. You won't see it from the top, so I do want to mention that. But other than that, it's in great condition, and I'm a big fan of Toshio's. Or do you want to take this one?
We were discussing this one earlier because this was at a period when Jose Chartier was doing electroforming with his glass. And so the very rare to see his work in crystal, clear crystal, but he's offset it by using the electroforming to give this rich, beautiful surface. And you just kind of get a glimpse of the vessel-like form that's on the right. That there's like a copper interior that's more of a glowing copper. And it's an unusual piece by him, but I remember distinctly as being one of my favorites. I sold this originally.
Great to hear, for yeah, it's a impressive work, and I actually reached out to Jose to get the name of the series, De La Terre, which is from the Earth, and it is signed on one of the sculptures that slide in on the base of that. So it is a signed in, like many of the works, but it's particularly one that's very fun to see because it's early in his career. There's 2 works by Habatat's longtime friend Sidney Hutter. Both are substantial, both are different from each other. Sydney uses laminated plate glass and cuts and polishes it to create this incredible vase-like form. These are double take pieces. People always take two looks at these things to quite grasp them, and they're both museum
Right.
quality. This one is
I've got everything.
a horizontal version, which I think is just an impressive work, and you'll see the vertical one come up soon. Or this, yeah, soon. This Tomasovichka, Pages of Light. This originally was a commission. The client had a vision for the artist to create a book using the process of fused glass and silver foil, gold foil. So I believe it goes where the artist is able to heat up the glass, and the silver tone turns gold during the
Mhm.
heating process. And look at this piece. It's 20 inches wide, 16 inches tall. It has a bend to it like a book, so it has a real substance to this work. And I'm a big fan of this. I've had a lot of calls about this piece because it's something really rare, and definitely see it in the 360. Okay, we're at the second Keith Clayton. This is the largest one. It's 60 inches tall off the ground, including that base. So it has the same kind of tone. So I get the photos up of it just to give you the spin around. Um, but this is, big. Looking at this work was like, holy cannoli. I don't know where this work was found. The artist must have made this, and I don't know how he transported it, but it has the same feeling of two pieces put together. It's a completely solid sculpture, and it is just absolutely wonderful in scale and size. Probably one of the largest I've ever seen by the artist make.
The wonderful thing about his work is that it opens up like a mystery. It was because it has an ancient feel to it, and but then there's elements that make it contemporary. So it's I love art that does that to you. That where you can fantasize or contemplate why it was made and how it was made, and when it was made, like in this case.
Like in this case, yeah, it is really. It's great to see these substantial works come to auction. Sometimes you have auctions that have some smaller works. You've had a few in the past, but this is probably one of the most impressive collections we've done in a while. All right, next slide. Uh, Matai Negrianu, someone I'm not too familiar with, and I have something written down if you
Yeah,
want me to
he
read it.
I've been to his studio. He works out of France, but he's originally uh, from Romania. But he used glass in this very unique way. First of all, he combined it with other materials very early on, and then he would distress it and color it in a variety of ways, or add elements to it that were like gold foils, and very intriguing work. Still working, I believe, although he hasn't been shown in this country for quite a while.
Yeah, I was looking at his website recently to get some context, and it's fairly updated, and showed a lot about his inspiration. He started working in the early '80s, if not earlier, and is quite a he has quite a style with the glass. It's like he takes it, and he takes it and he changes it and he puts it out there in styles. It's like he's fighting it to make it what he wants. And you can see a variety of his works. This is a really nice piece, and it comes on this wooden rocker, which I didn't see in many of his other pieces. Sometimes we get work from artists I don't really know much about. This Christopher Stouffer is a Canadian artist, and I don't know if they're still working today. I did find him on LinkedIn doing something creative still. Obviously, this was a purchase by the artist. I think maybe at Sofa Chicago back in the 2000s. It's a heavy but beautiful freestanding metal. I think it's bronze with a crystal vessel in the center of it, and it's stunning when you see it in person.
Huge.
Mm-hmm. 47 inches tall, and it bolts to the bottom, and it freestands, which is very convenient for a sculpture of this scale. Back to Ikuta. You want to take this one?
Miyoko Ikuta. Um, uh, I will say I don't, measure prices very often, but I was at Basel a couple years ago, art show in Miami, and there was a gallery representing her, and a piece of this scale went for $38,000. And it was the only glass or artist working in glass that this gallery had. I visited her studio in Kyoto quite a few years back, and I expected it to be really quite high tech. One, because she's Japanese and their technology at that point seemed to be just very, very impressive. And then, secondly, the amount of work involved in it. I figured there's got to be some sort of machine that can create this. Well, I got there and her studio would barely hold my wife and I and her. And all of these pieces, all these elements were cut by hand, one after another. And in a piece like this here, I don't know how many you have, but it's an awful lot of intense work. Very, very beautiful sculpture. A lot of artists' work. Yeah, thank you. A lot of artists work in plate glass. You've seen it all over the country and the world. But Nilko Ikuda always did something I felt special with it. It was more impressive as sculpture than most other people working in the same type of tradition.
Thank you, Bert. Appreciate that. Good to know that story. Then we have two of these works in the collection, and you're right. I remember seeing them at the Art Miami show or in the Seattle Art Fair with high prices on them. So great to have them.
Mhm.
These both already have bids at auction. We have three works by our longtime friend Jack Schmidt, all different series and all beautiful. And this is the first one coming to auction called Purple Wedge, freestanding sculpture, beautiful purple in tone. People ask if these works can go outside a lot, and the answer is usually not unless they're designed to go outside. So keep that in mind upon purchasing the work, and please double check with the artist. Um, but wonderful works by our longtime friend Jack Schmidt, and this is at 42 and a half inches tall, 30 inches wide, an impressive piece.
Yeah.
The second piece that we're offering, a different body of work, Stone Series 45. You can see the same kind of tone. This work has plate glass pieces that have been laminated together and a blown glass object on the end. This work has a little, you'll see it online, a little bit of residue on the bottom here between the glass that you can't see unless you get up close to it. But I want to mention it if you're thinking of bidding. But Jack has been doing the same kind of forms for decades now. He's still working today, making some incredible pieces. What a legacy we have in the glass world.
Yeah.
So those of you that are hungry, we got a John Miller gold-plated, gold-foiled, treated hamburger. It's always fun to have work by John. People in the auction community kind of dive towards this kind of work because they relate to it, they can see it, and they have a place for it. So we're hoping someone places a bid at auction for this incredible, substantial 6 by 10 by 10. So it's quite a large piece by the artist.
I love that title, Royal Burger.
Royal Burger. Yep. So the other Clayton work, this is the smallest of the three. Rise and Fall Flask. And again, they sat all together. I'll see if I can pull the photos up of the piece as well, so you can kind of see it in the round. And you can see the copper connecting the two sides of the vessel up. Magical work, and it's amazing to have three of these substantial works at our auction.
How does it stand, Aaron? With
It
the
stands by itself. There's a
uh-huh.
flat bottom to it, and
Okay.
they've been sitting in our storage like that. You can't lay them on the sides; they have to stand straight up. The
Yeah.
blue one has a base to it that holds it up, but the rest of them sit flat without issue. Right. You asked Jack Schmidt. This is one of my favorites too. The Wall, split landscape too. Same kind of style as the piece we saw earlier, but this one's mounted to a wall. Lots and lots of laminated glass that creates this long sculpture and a blown object on top. Something he's really well known for, and an easy recognizable piece by the artist. So something fun. Another diving back into the Orient, we have another Toshio Azumi work. This one is 51 inches tall. We sold works like this at SOFA in the past when I was there, and they were always such a draw for people.
Yeah.
And they're carved and laminated, creating such beautiful tones. And since the artist is retired now, auction's the only way you're going to get the work. So if you're looking for a Toshio Azumi, Another fun thing about Azumi's work is it doesn't need direct light. You place it in your home and it absorbs and reflects light around. So that's an easy thing to place without having to worry about light in your home. Here's the other Akuta. It's
Okay.
69.5 inches tall, including this long, I think including the base. I have to look up and see if it is including the base or not. But it is big. I believe it's including the base. It is really a large sculpture and it's very impressive. I think I have the full picture in my robot here somewhere. But same thing Ferd talked about, all made by hand. Just an incredible opportunity to find a work by this artist at auction. Here's the full
This is
piece.
probably the largest one that ever came to the United States.
Yeah, I would agree based on what I've seen and probably the most substantial to ever come to auction. So
Yeah,
definitely I'm going to be sharing this with a lot of museums because this is the piece to get
yeah.
if you wanted to get one by the artist in the States. And she works a little bit, but we reached out to her a few years ago and she doesn't send work abroad anymore. It comes with the art galleries that want to bring her to shows. So they always come from Japan or wherever she is and bring it with them. And she won't send the work directly. So it's great to have them. Our friend Robert Mickelson. This is a fun uh, hot lamped work piece. This picture's a little bit fuzzy, so I'll get some more pictures up here. Why not? Fine. Here we go. Boom, boom, boom. So the angel sits inside of the pod in a way. It's so fun to see Robert Michelson, who has since been working heavily in the functional pipe world and where his training came from and where he came from as a glassmaker. And it's fun to see these works trickle in. You never know what you're going to get, but you can always tell how talented that Robert Michelson is when you see these kind of works. And they're very fun, lighthearted, and they take you on an adventure. Stick out of that. This is a really substantial work by artist Clifford Rainey. Many of you know Clifford. He's out in California. This is in the secondary market in early 2001 piece, and this work has $1,000 reserve on it. We're trying to find someone who really wants a Clifford Rainey out there in the world and to share Clifford's work with everybody who has a chance of getting one. So it has a little bit of a rock underneath it too, I believe. Let me take the full photo here, um, representing
Oh, yeah. Okay.
the tone of life. It adds a little more to the piece and the presentation.
It's
But
also it's a lot of his work is about process. You wouldn't think so, but the rock underneath it also represents how people work in ceramics. Be working on a sculpture, and they put a rock underneath it so it gives it stability, and that's part of what this is about. And also the surface is like carving, and that's because again he wants to show the process of an artist's work.
thank you for good to know about that process with the rock. It assembles together to create the form, so it is a important work by the artist and exciting to have it at auction. Close this down. An old uh, friend of the gallery, I haven't seen her in the gallery in a few years. Janet Kelman, a local artist, has this very whimsical and beautiful and delicate looking uh, sheltering one with a small little purple bird in it. We have done really well with her work back in the day, and it's nice to see her work show up again at auction. And this work is an impressive example. I remember she has a lot of these works that show up that are just the exterior. There's a very rare to see a piece inside, so it's something fun to have at auction.
She was recently on the cover of a glass book, and I'm sorry I don't have the name of it. My library at this point is too extensive to go looking for it. But she was the cover of the book of artists that were supposed to be great artists worldwide. So that is a very nice compliment to her work.
That's great to hear. I mean, every now and then we see her, and we go down the Russell Industrial or participate more in the local community and see people. So it's great to see her in the auction, getting the name out there again. The other Sydney Hutter, look at this thing, 18 by 12. Very substantial piece by our friend Sydney. I love the coloring. I love the tone with this work. It has, that feeling of a vessel, but if you come up close to it, it changes quickly. It's obviously an incredible sculpture and an important work. Probably one of the most important works of the artist to come to auction. This is one of my favorites in the auction. This is the Michael Bertovalin Janus head. It's a single head that sits on a pedestal That black piece of wood does not come with it. We just had it photographed on that. People have asked that in the past. It has a face on the front and then this reddish face inside that reflects off the glass. And it's a fun work by the artist. And a lot of people ask about the Janus heads, and we're happy to have one auction.
Good video of that one too, to see the head and how it reflects on the interior.
Guess I should take a video then of it. So I haven't done a video just yet, but I will when I get back in the gallery. But thank you, though. Our friend Paul Stanker, this is another example, botanical paperweight bee, blueberry, earth spirits, everything people look for. And Paul Stanker's work is in this piece. And you'll have, you flip it over and you see the earth spirits hitting on the bottom, different objects. There's a bee floating right on top. You can probably see it if I move my mouse around. It's kind of hard, but people love Paul's work at auction. And it's an honor to show him and have this collection to share. And if you place a bid on this, I'm sure you'll be able to win it because there's always people who look for these works, but there's some works that are more elaborate than others, and this is probably one of the most elaborate. I own two of his works in my collection. I have one sitting next to me right now, so it's great to have Paul be part of our family. So we had three Keith Clayton so far. Now we're showing you Deanna Clayton, and look at the scale. This one's 20 by 20 inches wide. So we are really wide with this pate vert and copper vessel form. People have always asked us about these works. They're very popular. And people love them, and they fit really well in almost any people's homes, especially if a round table or a dining room table. They really just tie a room together. And Deanna is such a talent. She's been focused more on making figures as of late, humanoid females, which are very stunning. But there's always a demand for these vessels, and we're grateful to have this impressive one at auction.
She just to clear things up, she was married to Keith Clayton. They're since divorced, and that's why. But when they lived and worked together, there's a similarity to their work. You could always tell the difference because of the forms that they used, but that's the same technique in terms of the copper and the pot de verre.
Yes, thanks for clarifying. You definitely see the similarity. Another one you need to see in the 360. This is probably one of the most beautiful Davide Salvadori's we have ever off our auction. It's not super large. It's 20, almost 2 feet tall. So I can find more photos of it for you to see. And there's all these photos are on the MasterWorks site too, so you have a chance to see them all. But you scroll to the right. It has such beautiful tones.
Yeah.
Has
Every
detail.
technique, every
Every
technique
technique,
that he
yeah.
uses on a huge piece is all in this small piece. It's
Right. And
beautiful.
it's no one buys this, I'm getting it. So make sure you bid because I think it's just one of the most beautiful works by Davide I've ever seen him do. Because sometimes they have different tones and colors. This has lots of reds and blues. And look at the carving on top, such elaborate detail on this sculpture. So it's definitely one to keep your eye on if you're looking for a Davide Salvadori. It's very impressive. All right, and then we're getting close to the end here. We got Ann Wolf. I've never seen one of these come to auction. This is it's called a Des Famez sculpture, multiple objects that are collaborated in one cast piece. So they're all cast together, and I think it has to do with she's always about a family and about being female and about power and women, and it's a beautiful work, beautiful casting, beautiful tone, museum quality, a rare thing to have at auction. Would you say, Ferd?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, all of her work is kind of rare. She did show in this country fairly often with us, but she's in her upper 80s now, and we visited her studio uh, last year, and she's still working a little bit, but one of the great artists of our times.
Thank you for that. I really agree. So that brings us to the last piece at the auction. Look at this.
Yeah.
This is a 37.5 by 34-inch glass ring by artist Colin Reed. This is an incredible work. We had a work 12 inches smaller than this work in Florida last year and sold it. A red piece, so different color and tone. But it is just beautiful. And it is going to be knocking anybody's socks off who sees it in person. And places a bid. One of the most substantial works I've seen artists make, and it has a wow factor like you wouldn't believe. So um, I'm super happy to have this in our auction, to have the finale piece be something so incredible. And I suspect there will be a lot of bidders on this work, and I hope someone in the room wins. It'd be fantastic. So I want to show you what our auction site looks like. If you go to our website, click on the button, it looks like this. You can see each piece. You can register. Once you're registered, you're approved, and then you can place bids today. You can also, when the auction comes around on January 9th, you can watch the auction live and bid live on pieces as well. We've been doing this for a few auctions now at the MasterWorks site. What's great about the auction MasterWorks site is we are in charge currently of the invoicing system, and all this stuff is done between us and you, so it's a lot more personal, and you save on the buyer's premium if you want to bid on the digital side. Check out that site. Again, it's at January 9th at 3 p.m. So, placing your silent bids. Best way to bid? Call me. Email me. We'll set up silent bids and phone bids. You save on the premium. It is the best way to do it. It's how I would bid. But some people like to use the digital world and spend money. It's fine too if you like the convenience of that. But DM me, email me, call me if you have my phone number. And I'm happy to, we're taking bids every day on people who have contacted me, and I'm putting them in my file for the international for the bidding process in January. It's a lot of fun. Here's my contact information. You might have it already. You don't. It's aaronhabatat.com. So that's it. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I want to thank you all for joining me today. If you're watching this on the replay, please like, subscribe, hit that bell, and share with people who know and love glass. And it's an honor to have you all join me today. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.